Thank you for joining us today. We're at ComSpark in Columbus, Ohio, talking to Ursula from Huntington Bank. You're the Chief Data Officer. That's a new role, so it's got to be exciting.
It is. It's a great role.
Great. So we have a couple questions for you today.
Sure.
The first one I want to ask is, being a new role and being something that people are learning about, how do you make sure you're getting the right support from your organization?
Yeah, so this is the third time I've taken on this role, first time for a company having the role. And so one of the things that I look for in the role is that executive level support. They have to understand that they're trying to solve problems with data, that there's real opportunity with their data, and the ability to use it, think of it as an enterprise asset. And so if that support is there and they're willing to go on the journey to change how data is managed for the enterprise, then it's going to be the right level of support. But it does require a lot of communication to both the executive team as well as all levels of the organization, so that they can start to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish specifically for that company, because each bank is uniquely different. There's a lot of commonality from a regulatory standpoint, but at the same time, there's a lot of nuances. The culture of each company is dramatically different, and as a result, you need to figure out what the right mix of people, how they like to be communicated to, what's going to be important to them, really starting to understand those pain points so you can solve for that as part of the data management strategy.
That's interesting. Do you always get support? Because Chief Data Officer, you would think IT. Is it always IT that you're getting your support from? Or
no, actually, I don't sit in IT. I sit in our Chief Operating Officer's organization. So the technology organization is a partner to me, which does help quite a bit. It also changes the dialogue with your businesses. So my background is all from a business standpoint. I am not a technologist. And although this has a foot in both worlds, the ability to talk about the challenges data poses from a business perspective and then work with technology to help solve those things works much better than trying to come at it purely from the technologist's point of view. Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
The next question, as a Chief Data Officer, what is your number one responsibility? Like the one thing that keeps you up at night that you have to worry about, what is it?
It's really the people and the communications. I know that sounds like you'd be surprised, but communications is probably the biggest part of my job. You gotta have all the right people in place, but making sure that the team that you're assembling, because in this case I had to build the team from scratch, and really change how we were doing things from a technology perspective. And so as a result, that meant making sure the teams understand where we're headed and what we're trying to do, are aligned to the strategy, and then the ongoing communications with the business folks that are the ones who have the pain points and use the data on a regular basis, whether that's to improve the customer experience, grow your revenues or retain them, manage expenses, right? All of those things, and even mitigate risk over time, right? All those people that interact with the data are the ones that need the ongoing communication. So when you build a program like this, you're really building a new operational capability for the bank. And that operational capability that didn't exist before, you don't just pop up a new team and expect people to understand what it's doing, how it's working, and the evolution that it will go through. And so that's a big part of the communication. So I think that is the biggest part of the job.
Wow, that surprises me. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
The last question we want to ask you, and I think it's interesting to hear it from you as the Chief Data Officer, this is going to be different and surprise us all, I bet. What excites you about the future? Like, where are you going? What's next? What's exciting? Tell us.
Artificial intelligence, believe it or not. So the ability to start to leverage the data that we've used so heavily for traditional reporting, analytics in a very small way, I'll describe it. And I think a lot of banks are in that same position. We've been very focused on regulatory reporting over the years. There's a ton of internal management reporting. Excel is everybody's friend. And so how do you think about doing that differently and really being able to use tools to automate that? Once you're past that, then how do you start using the data really differently to start to grow the business, to change the expense model for the business overall? And so the opportunities around artificial intelligence are probably the parts that excite me the most in what's next for the bank as we start to leverage the data.
That's really exciting. Thank you, Ursula. I really appreciate your time today and answering the questions for us. Thank you for joining us as well. And if you have more questions, please visit ComSpark.tech.